Hello, I'm Christopher Kazan, and this is Ireland's Edge. On today's episode, the home front of the Russian invasion for Ukrainians in Ireland. Just over a year ago, Vladimir Putin launched an imperialist invasion of Ukraine. The brutal effects of Russian aggression have forced millions of Ukrainian refugees to flee their home country, and there are now tens of thousands of Ukrainians here in Ireland. Singer and composer Olesya Zdorovetska has lived here for over a decade, while academic Larysa Samosonok arrived in the early weeks of the war. In front of a live audience at Ireland's Edge in Dingle, Olesya and Larysa spoke to Muireann Kelliher about experiencing the invasion of their homeland from Ireland, and what we all need to understand about Ukraine's fight for survival.
You've both lived here and there in your phones, both of your families are still there, both your parents are still there, your siblings are there. How have you actually coped with being here, all of that actually happening? And I know that both of you have been incredibly productive and active and on so many fronts. How have you done that?
Well, we have a huge privilege. We have 2 hours more in a day. Because difference in the time, 2 hours.
Earlier, still 24, Larysa.
No, 26. Because we start at 6, in Ireland 8, and in Ukraine 6, and I have to start at 6. And when in Ireland 12 p.m., in Ukraine 2 a.m., it's okay, 26 hours. That is why. Digital technology, very helpful for us, but not, unfortunately, last month, because, as you know, Ukrainian energetic infrastructure is bombing all days, and a lot of problems now with energy in Ukraine, with internet, with connections. But Ukrainians continue to repair everything and rebuild everything, and we have a connection, very strong connection. And last 2 weeks I had all days online meeting, because I work, as you know, with entrepreneurs, and we now had very long strategic sessions, because we need to recover our territory, which will be deoccupied in the nearest future. I know that.
You mentioned there working with entrepreneurs. What are you actually doing with businesses right now in the Ukraine that you continue to do from here?
I work in 2 organizations in NGO. It's a business association of micro and small business, and I worked in a consultant service in consulting center. And I provide, and my team is providing a consulting for them, because all legislations, all regulations in Ukraine now is changed because war time, and we have a huge changes in taxation system, in labor regulation, and a lot of changing, and we help to them to continue work in a legal field. And another huge point for us, we try to help them relocate businesses from occupied territory or from territory where is very active military actions to western or central part of Ukraine. We're trying to find resources, possibilities, and help them to move not only equipments, to move team, staff, what we can to do. It's my job now.
And Olesya, the focus of your activity has changed over the course of the year too. So what you started at doing out immediately in the spring has changed to the type of work that you're doing now.
It was just this kind of strange sense of suddenly you find yourself living within this sort of really thick like, you know, dance, or I don't know, rather condensed history. And as an artist, it's a huge challenge, you know, to make sense out of this moment and to, you know, maintain creative practice. But, you know, in spring, art felt completely irrelevant and powerless. So I quit my artistic job and I joined some task forces, and we were volunteering and helped evacuating people, and you know, we were delivering medical aid and, you know, just to help in a very practical way. And you know, lots of people in Ireland and my friends here were sending messages of support, and they were donating to this, you know, big organizations, which I wouldn't name here, you know them, and I was very grateful, but a little bit frustrated at the same time, because then I remember in the beginning of summer, I think the Open Democracy report came up, and it showed that the most immediate needs during spring were covered like at 90% by local smaller NGOs in Ukraine and some ground initiatives and, you know, volunteers. And I was part of that process, and I could see how efficient it was, and we were addressing those needs. And, you know, I don't know, I guess it's the big organizations, due to, I don't know, bureaucracy or some structures there, they were a little bit less efficient at a time. And, you know, for example, there was a big scandal because they were not partaking in evacuation missions and process. So yeah, I did create at the time list of trusted charities in Ukraine, smaller initiatives, and kind of was suggesting to people to donate to them because they just they could see the immediate result, and I was providing reports, and I suppose that's kind of one of those examples when in times of trouble, the civil society self-organizes and groups and being most efficient. And well, eventually my voice got back. I could go back to my work. I had a commitment, actually. I had a show in the Gate Theatre in Dublin, and then we were, you know, during Galway Arts Festival, we had a tour there, and I was kind of lucky to have work because, you know, it's an income, so I could keep donating to you know, my friends and family in there, because many of them are in the army, and you know. But also I was lucky because the work I was doing, this opera, for example, in autumn, and it was very dark sort of theme, and we toured in Spain and Portugal, and yeah, it kind of was matching my emotional landscape. So all these charitable events and things like that then followed, but. Yeah, I suppose it was all about defining sort of my field of responsibility and what I could do and work there.
Trying to work through that in your own.
Well, I suppose, and that's where I had this idea for a long time, and it became, we have this expression in Ukrainian, na chasi, which means it's in the right time, and so yeah, I had the idea of Ukrainian-Irish culture platform, this kind of strategically focused organization, to fill these gaps in knowledge and awareness here about Ukraine, but also subsequently after our victory in Ukraine to, you know, amplify Irish cultural voice in Ukraine. And I think there's sort of, you know, there's incredible potential in this initiative. I think it will be very fruitful for both of our cultures. So that's kind of where my focus of my work is at the moment. And
you've started on establishing that platform and putting those linkages in place, and
yeah, we actually did just we did run, and obviously all of what the intent is to make these events charitable. So for example, with Creative Europe Desk Ireland this autumn, we ran a series of very successful events where just, you know, sort of raising awareness and facilitating the, you know, public dialogue and this exchange, and sort of offering the resources for this kind of exchange of knowledge. And yeah, there's a very, very huge support and interest, you know, and I see this massive gap, you know, in kind of knowing what Ukraine is. And one of our prominent writers, actually, I remember last week I read the quote, and it struck me because she just summed it up. She was saying that you can't care about something if you don't know it.
And I realized if people don't know what Ukraine is, and suddenly it appeared on the world map, we suddenly have our voice loud, and I want it to be louder, of course. I want to amplify Ukrainian voice. But how can you care about something that you don't know? And that is where my work lies at the moment, I suppose.
And to go from that very contemporary voice about caring about something, you found this, what I found a fascinating, one of the historical parallels that you've spoken to me about between Ireland and Ukraine is the Markievicz connection in the right at the time of independence. What is that story for this audience?
Yeah, I was privileged to receive Markievicz awards. I didn't sort of expect, and I'm very grateful because it allows me to dig deeper into this research and produce project. You can follow up on that. We plan to launch it in Sligo in next summer. It's just we had a very, very similar figure in Ukrainian history, because something that I want to kind of explain to people always, that this war suddenly didn't start like on the 24th of February. We had it at least for 8 years since the Revolution of Dignity, actually almost 9 years now. And we had it for at least 100 years when Ukraine for the first time had a chance to proclaim its independence, kind of around the time of World War I, and we couldn't sustain it unlike Ireland, which did. But also it's 100 years of colonial histories, and I suppose it's really, wherever I have a platform to speak, and I'm not a great speaker, I feel quite uncomfortable in this role. I choose music and poetry, and I think they're usually much more accurate for describing reality or dealing with reality. But I think I always try to reiterate on the fact that the Russia's invasion of Ukraine today is a neo-colonial war. It's the attempt to restore their imperial geopolitical blueprint. And for us, our resistance is really a decolonial struggle, and and that kind of proves this reconciliation talk. This stage is very hard, and it's actually dangerous until we rethink our framework of the dialogue that we have, and we also need to rethink the vocabulary that we have for this process of arts decolonization, and we quite often find that this irresistible desire, and I'm sure Larysa would agree with me, we just talked about it briefly backstage, that, it's almost, it's very arrogant when people try to reconcile us right now, because it's sort of reconciliation of the victim and offender. So the starting point for any reconciliation with Russia, I think is far in the future, when they fully withdraw from Ukraine, including Crimea and Donbass, and when the international tribunal holds Russia accountable, because I believe in the collective responsibility, and there's a lot of war crimes committed on a daily basis still right now. Although in the media, I notice only about a quarter of what's happening is being covered. And that is actually deeply frustrating, and only kind of strengthens me in this idea that, okay, there's a lot of work to be done to amplify Ukrainian voice. Sorry, I could just speak about this for a long time.
And maybe just going on from that, your point, Olesya, to Larysa. Larysa, you have made the point there, I suppose, which Olesya has been trying to say. It's painted in this ongoing relationship of a colonial nature over a long, long time. People often say, well, what will happen post-Putin? You answer that question, quite directly I will let you answer it for the audience, but when people say to you, if Putin goes, does it make a difference? What is your answer to that?
I don't remember. Sorry, I'm joking. I think it's not Putin, it's a system, and nothing will be changed. Necessary to change society, and it's a really long time need to spend for that, and I cannot see forces which can do that in Russia or even outside. Now it's an absolutely isolated country and no internal power to change anything to the best life for Russians, not for people outside Russia. They cannot change a life even for their citizens. And as I understand, not in this year or last year, I understood that is really very long time ago, that this system will alive, and when we will isolate Russia at all, everything will be much, much worse. Because necessary to leave them a window of opportunity to come democracy to them, but necessary to change a system. Probably necessary to start in a Russian way, to give them money, like they buy everything. Money for democracy development. It's possible, but it's a tough job, and nobody can do that except themselves. As it's my opinion about Putin system and time after him.
Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Olesya, we are very glad that you restarted performing, and we're delighted that you are going to perform for us now. So we will leave that to you, and Larysa and I will
Thanks
leave
once
the
again.
stage
Just
to
one
you.
very important thing to say, that we need to keep fighting, this dominance. My front is the cultural and linguistic dominance, and it's just, we need to do it to safeguard our identity, and this is our means of survival. So there's a great deal of amazing Ukrainian culture to discover, so I encourage, and literature that's been translated in history, I encourage you to go and check it out, and you can help if you amplify Ukrainian voice at the moment and temporarily suspend the Russian voice. They just need to do their homework, and then, and then we start talking, maybe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look, here it lies, the unspeakable, heavy as the loved one's dead body, long as the night when they're bombing. Take the unspeakable under its blood-soaked arms. Pull it. Pull it. Leave tracks. In the morning, may these red tracks be seen from afar. A poet can't write about the war. neither victim, nor participant, nor defender, nor observer. So who? The war gave everyone a role. What's yours? Covering your mouth with your palm? Right. Right. Miss can't hold back the tongue. Suddenly she's quiet when it just seems precisely the time to talk. But what can you say when over there, everyone, everywhere is shouting, sirens screaming, smoke crackling high up, evacuated wheels squeaking, crooked mouths of shattered windows, desperately howling. She texts you. I can hear explosions close by, fighter jets flying. You don't know how to respond. Ой, пливе кача по тисині, пливе кача по тисині. Мамко моя, не лай мені, мамко моя, не лай мені. Залаєш ми згодено, сам не знаю, де погину, сам не знаю, де погину, погину я в чужім краю, погину я в чужім краю, хто ж ми буде брати яму? Ой, хто ж буде брати яму? Виберуть ми чужі люди. Ой, чи не жаль ти, мамко, буде? Ой, чи не жаль, мамко, буде? Як же мені, синку, не жаль? Як же мені, синку, не жаль, ти на моїм серці лежав, ти на моїм серці лежав. Oh God, forgive me, I beg you, for my pure anger. Where I stand, I will prevail. Think to you that human life is so short, only in my dreams it lasts forever. Thought dispels sadness, to always be as I was when my mother bore me, and with the world blessing. And it's good that she didn't manage to save me from trouble. Oh God, forgive me, forgive me, I beg you, for my pure anger. I will stand, where I will stand I will prevail. Господи, гніву пречистого, благаю, немає за зле, де не стоятиму, вистою. Спасибі за те, що мале людське життя, хоч надією довжу його віки. Господи, гніву пречистого, благаю, немає за зле, де не стоятиму, вистою. Спасибі за те, що мале людське життя, хоч надією довжу його віки. Думаю, ту розвію, що був я завжди такий, яким мене мати вродила і благословила Господи, God, 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 do not let the voice of the anger subside, the voices of those who sit in the cellars forgotten, the voices of those who remain in the rubble, the voices of those who scream in broken dreams, the voices of those who cannot close their eyes, the voices of those who are speechless and dumb, the voices of those who will die of hunger and thirst, the voice of those who gather crumbs of courage, the voices of those who stop the columns by themselves, covering the defenseless from bullets with their own bodies, the voice of the one who cries into the void, of the one who calls, who curses, who hides their face in grief, in child's body, in son's photo, in mother's belonging, the stooped shoulders, the trembling old knees. The voice of the burning house, the voice of blood, the voice of a mind that doubts, a voice that breaking through the sirens which lulls the unborn and the nameless. Give that voice a way out from the throat suffocated by fear, from the city under fire, from the body that will become dust, from the heart that beats from now on for everyone. Hear, 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 hear him, God.
Українці, усміхнеться доля, згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці, запануєм і ми, браття, у своїй сторонці, душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду.
Слава Україні! Garmahagad Ireland. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Olesya and Larysa for joining Muireann Kelliher in Dingle. On our next episode, Muireann is joined by journalist John Kampfner to discuss A World in Flux. To make sure you don't miss that or any of our future episodes, subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts. This has been a South Wind Blows production, and I'm Christopher Gassan. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to your company next time on Ireland's Edge.